All right, everyone, welcome back to Felon is Not an Option. And just as I promised, we are going to be going over some suicide and self-harm questions. And we are going to navigate these questions with the breadcrumbs. Alrighty, so we are going to be treating these questions as if we are taking the exact MFT National Exam, where we're going to read the question, take a few minutes to look over the answer responses, and then I am going to reveal how I found the best answer using the breadcrumbs. Okay, this is our first question. A 29-year-old client in individual therapy, and I'm sorry, feel free, pause the video, take a look at this question and see if you can answer it yourself. A 29-year-old client in individual therapy for depression shares during session, "I don't want to kill myself, but I just wish I could go to sleep and not wake up." The client denies any plan or intent to die, but becomes tearful when talking about their emotional pain. The client has no history of suicide attempts. What should the therapist do next? So let's take a look at some of those answer responses. When we take a look at those answer responses, and we're doing this as if we were taking the MFT National Exam, we're going to go back up to that vignette and we are going to highlight the important details of this vignette that is going to help us and lead us to finding the best answer. I just did a video for how to navigate these questions. So let's navigate this question together. And in my next slide, I am going to reveal to you how I use the breadcrumb to find the best answer, right? So if I was taking this exam today, I would highlight depression. That sticks out to me. I would highlight that quote, "I don't want to kill myself, but I just wish I could go to sleep and not wake up." And I would also highlight denies any plan or intent. So that lets me know that it's what? It's low risk. So we shouldn't be looking at any major actions that we should do next. And doing next is what we are literally going to do next in the scenario. So you're in therapy right now with this client, but A says recommend inpatient hospitalization due to possible suicidality. Now, remember what I just said. This is low risk. We do hospitalizations when it's what? High risk. We're low risk. B says normalize the feeling and continue exploring other life stressors. So remember my other video, avoid answer that has you avoiding the issue. So now we're going to talk about other life stressors when this client has said something passive about not wanting to be alive anymore. D says document the statement and move on to again, that's us avoiding. We're now avoiding, and we can't do that. C says gently explore the client's statement to clarify the meaning and the risk level. That is your best answer. He denies any plan or intent, but he says he wants to go to sleep and not wake up. What does that mean? Are you going to, what are you going to do? You're going to take pills so that you don't wake up? What are you going to do? We need clarification on that statement that he made. And this was a very low risk question, okay? Pause the video, see if you can answer this question yourself. A 22-year-old college student with a history of suicide ideation and one past attempt reports increased feelings of hopelessness. In session, the client agrees to continue therapy and expresses a desire for help, but refuses to sign a no-harm contract stating it just feels fake. She is not currently suicidal, but admit that she has had thoughts. Now, what is the therapist's best next step? Okay? Now, we're taking the real exam right now. So what are we going to do? How do we know if this is low, moderate, or high risk for suicidal ideation? Though there are words and there are phrases in here that is going to lead us to what the risk factor is in this vignette. I hope that when you pause the video, you were able to find the answer before I even reveal the best answer to this question. Are we ready? All right, so let's go. If you pause this video and you came up with C as being the best answer, good job. So this one was kind of like on the fence because we see a lot of her past of suicidal ideation whereas one past attempt, and she also has feeling of hopelessness. So if we take a look at A A says discontinue treatment until she agrees to a safety contract. And I highlighted safety contract in green because it's like, it sounds nice, right? Safety contract, we want to protect the client first, but then the rest of A is incorrect. We're not going to discontinue treatment. She needs the support and she wants the support, right? B says proceed with treatment and note the refusal in the record. B is not you protecting the client. B is automatically out. Safety first. D says seek consultation and prepare for involuntary hospitalization. Now, before I get to D, let's take a look at C. C says collaboratively create a personalized safety plan with the client, which is going to be the best answer. And I'm going to tell you why C is the best answer and not D. Now, go back up to the vignette. Take a look at some of the phrases that I have highlighted. History of suicidal ideation. She has one past attempt, right? So we would think that, hey, she's high risk, right? But she agrees to continue therapy and she expresses a desire for help, right? She's expressing a desire for help. She's not actively suicidal. She does not have a specific plan, but she does have the thoughts. So we are just going to do what? We're going to collaboratively create a personalized safety plan with the client. And I get it. D was kind of like a bit hard because we see some of those red flags that are going off, but make sure you are looking at all of the evidence in the vignette before you choose the best answer. Now, if this answer could have been D, you could have possibly seen something in the vignette that is saying she doesn't want to continue with therapy. She doesn't want anyone help. She has an intent. She has a means. She has access. That would be means for ethically, and legally, we got to do an involuntary hospitalization if she's refusing the support and she's at high risk for suicidal ideation. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Alrighty, let's do this next one. Feel free to pause this video. See if you can answer this question all on your own before I reveal it. In your 8th session with Martin, he reveals that he has recently received a notice that his home is being foreclosed after being unemployed for over a year. He shares that his ex-partner has stopped communicating with him and his 3 teenage sons have been distant and avoid spending time with him. Martin says he can no longer afford therapy, expresses deep shame about his situation, and tells you, you've done enough. I don't want to take up any more of your time. He adds that he won't be returning for future sessions. What is the therapist's most appropriate next step? So take a look at the answer responses, right? And then whatever you highlighted up there, if you know, we're acting as if we're taking this exam for real, whatever you highlighted up there, it's going to lead you to your best answer, because up there, it's going to show you that there is some suicidal ideation that we might need to assess for, even though we don't even see a word that says it. So when you don't see the word suicide or anything about self-harming or anything about wanting to die, what do you do and how do you find that best answer? So I am going to reveal the best answer to you, and then we're going to walk through this together. So now, if I was taking this exam, he's 8 sessions in, right? He recently received a notice his home is being foreclosed. He's been unemployed for over a year. His ex-partner just don't want to talk to him no more. The kids don't even want nothing to do with him anymore, right? He can't even afford therapy anymore, which is his highest support that he has with everything that's going on. And then he's saying that he's not even returning to session. So we got to do something about this, right? So your next appropriate step is going to be to do what? B says recommend that Martin reach out to a crisis hotline if his feelings worsens. So now B makes it seem like you're abandoning your client and you're done with them and you telling him to go do something else. That's what B sounds like to me. Okay? C says suggest that Martin take a break from therapy and return when he is more stable. So again, this is you abandoning your client in the middle of a crisis, right? You can't do that. D says focus on identifying community services that could help. And again, you're all B, C, and D is you avoiding the red flags in the vignette. It's you avoiding the issue that this client has. Now, in this vignette, it said nothing about suicidal thoughts, not wanting to live anymore, not wanting to die. It does not mention that at all. But if you take a look at this vignette, you can tell that this client is very depressed. And he's got some crises that are happening. back to back to back. And what are you going to do to make sure that your client is going to be protected? Ask Martin if he is having thoughts of suicide and explore his current emotional state. And I get it. Remember, I said that some of those questions are like out there. You know, are you thinking about killing yourself? Do you want to? Do you want to? Do you have thoughts of suicide? Do you want to kill yourself? Those questions are going to be out there sometimes when it comes to these answer responses. I have seen them worse than this. Like I told you, like Diane Gehart question was like, whoa. Like the way it's worded, and I've heard many people say like it feels uncomfortable choosing that response, but if it's the best response, it's the best response. Okay, alrighty. Now, Jasmine, a 32-year-old woman, arrives to session with visible bruises on her arms and neck. She has previously disclosed incidents of verbal and physical aggression in her relationship. During the session, Jasmine also admits that she's recently started cutting her inner thighs with a razor when she feels overwhelmed. She says quietly, "I just don't know how much more I can take." What is the therapist's most appropriate initial response to address these concerns? So now, take a look at your answer responses. And then you're going to go back to the vignette and you're going to make those nice little highlights that's going to lead you to your best answer, because you got two different things going on in this vignette and you have to address both of them. Remember, if it's two different issues that is going on, don't pick a response that is only going to pave way to one of them. You have to respond to both of them, okay? Now, here we are. Jasmine, she's 32 years old. She has visible bruises on her arms and neck, verbal and physical aggression in her relationship. Now she's cutting herself on her inner thighs, and she's made a statement that is very passive. "I just don't know how much more I can take." This is your most appropriate initial response. So this has to be right at the very beginning. We're not waiting. There is no delay. What are you going to do right now at this very moment? B says, begin psychoeducation about trauma responses and cycle of abuse. I highlight that in yellow because sounds nice, right? Doesn't it sound nice? But it's not the first thing that you're going to do. Sounds nice, but we can wait on that, right? C says, explore Jasmine's emotional triggers for self-harm and discuss DBT as a treatment plan. So now we talking about a treatment plan, and this poor girl is cutting on her inner thighs, but let's talk about DBT, why don't we? And forget about them cuts on your thighs, right? No. B and C is ignoring the issue that is mentioned in the vignette. D says, report the injuries to law enforcement as evidence. Okay, here we go. Now, when it comes to domestic violence, we don't report it to the law enforcement, so automatically it's wrong. And again, if you're talking about reporting injuries to the law enforcement, you have yet to address that your client's safety needs to come first. A says, assess Jasmine's level of suicidal ideation and provide resources for immediate physical safety. Sounds good, right? So now, if we're going to assess Jasmine's level of suicidal ideation, that covers her comment of saying, "I just don't know how much more I can take." But then, provide resources for immediate physical safety, which is the relationship that she is having with this no good partner of hers, right? So yes, you have to address both of them. Both of them are important. You cannot just ignore one and only pave way to the other. Alrighty. Last one, and this is a long one because I noticed that there are some vignettes on the exam that are like a 3-4 part question to it. I had some like that on mine, so bear with me, stay with me. Pause this video if you want to and see if you can answer this question yourself. 11-year-old Sophie is brought to therapy by her mother, Rachel. Rachel explains that over the past 8 months, Sophie's mood and behavior have changed dramatically. Once an energetic and social child, Sophie has become withdrawn, often isolating in her room. Rachel reports that Sophie's grades have dropped significantly, and her teachers have expressed concern about her lack of focus and frequent absences. Sophie has also been experiencing frequent nightmares and has developed a habit of refusing meals. During the initial session, Sophie reveals with hesitation that she was sexually abused by a family friend during a visit to his home nearly 6 months ago. Sophie also disclosing that she has been engaging in self-harm by cutting her arms with a razor blade when she feels overwhelmed by sadness and anxiety. Though she denies any current thoughts of suicide, she admits that that sometimes the pain from the cuts is the only thing that helps her feel some control. Rachel appears devastated by this information, but admits she was unaware of the severity of Sophie's distress. She expresses guilt and fear about how to best support her daughter and is unsure about the legal steps that she should take. Kind of long, but when you have these long vignettes, the breadcrumbs is what's going to help you the most. Given this information, what should the therapist's most appropriate next steps be? So this vignette, we have a lot that's going on in this vignette, and that answer response that you choose is going to have to match and pave way to what is going on in that vignette. So if you pause this video and you were able to find the best answer, kudos to you. I am proud of you for finding the best answer, but let's go ahead and I am going to reveal the best answer. Here we go. And I've got some yellow, reds, and I've got some greens, okay? So let's take a look at B. B says, seek Rachel's consent to report the abuse. It's highlighted in red because it's wrong. We are not asking consent from parents if we need to report abuse. If you know that abuse has occurred, report it. Provide psychoeducation to Sophie about coping strategies for self-harm. It sounds nice. Schedule consistent weekly therapy sessions. That sounds nice, right? But it's not the first thing that you want to do, right? C says report the sexual abuse to the authorities. Yes, you want to do that. But it says refer Sophie for some medical support for the physical injuries and then recommend inpatient hospitalization. This is not a high risk suicidal ideation vignette, so we are not going to recommend inpatient for this client. D says encourage Rachel to report the abuse herself. Automatically incorrect. Rachel should not have to be the one reporting the abuse. You are her therapist and you are going to protect your client because you are going to make the call. That's how it goes. A says inform Rachel of the therapist's mandated reporting obligation. Immediately file a report with Child Protective Services regarding the sexual abuse and conduct a thorough safety assessment focusing on Sophie's self-harm and a risk for suicide. A is your best answer because A covers everything that is highlighted in the green. Now, I highlighted in the vignette the red because I want people to understand that that is what you cannot ignore. Sexual abuse, do not ignore it. It's highlighted in red because it's a red flag. Don't ignore it. You cannot ignore it. Engaging in self-harm by cutting her arms with a razor blade. Don't ignore it. At some way, somehow, that answer response is going to have to include what's going on in that vignette. Do not ignore it. That was the last question. I hope this video is able to help you have a better understanding of how to navigate some of these questions. I got these questions from ChatGPT. Do not worry, have no fear. I looked extensively at these questions and then I go ahead and I compare them to an AATBS question or a Jerry Grossman question just to check the validity behind the questions, okay? I do a lot of work. I do a lot of research when it comes to teaching you all because I do not want to give you false information and I would not dare mislead you, okay? But if you have any questions, comments, or concern, please leave a message. Please leave a comment. Always like, subscribe, and share this video for anybody else that is also taking this MFT National Exam so that you can also be a help and support to them as well. I hope to talk to you all soon.